All right, so welcome to leadership. My name is Jennifer Martinez. Sorry, I didn't realize my camera was all messed up. So I will be your instructor for the next 10 weeks. So welcome to the first day of leadership. Everybody in their last term,
Yes.
getting ready to finish up and go out into the great big world of nursing. Awesome. Awesome. So it's exciting, right? Being in your last term. Lots to get done, but we will get through it. So we're going to start with orientation, and then we'll do some introductions, and then we have two chapters that we need to cover. So I'm going to go ahead and get started because lots of information today. Does anybody have any questions before we get started? No? All right. Lanisha, are you there?
I have a question.
Yes.
Is this the only class that's being offered for leadership at this time?
Yes.
Okay, just asking because we have a very early morning start for clinicals, mental health clinicals on this day.
So you have clinicals before class?
Yes.
Ooh, what time do you get
Yeah.
out?
Uh, we get out at 1 o'clock, but our clinicals, the site is like 45 minutes, 50 minutes out from like everybody's home.
Oh,
So it's like we're
True.
just rushing.
Very true.
Cincinnati location.
Yes, that is true.
And we getting up at like 5:30 in the morning to get
Yeah.
to clinical.
Yes.
mm, yes. So unfortunately, this is the only class that is being offered. Um, so there's two sections, but they're both at the same time. So some of you are split up in section one, and then others are split up into section two, but they're both going to be at from 2:30 to what is it, 5:20, 37, something like that. How many
Okay.
mental health days do you have?
Um, how many clinicals do we have for mental health? Just one, and then we have a
No, I meant,
capstone.
I'm sorry, how many
Oh,
weeks
sorry.
clinical? No, you're good. Is it the whole term?
Oh, yes. Well, it's like seven. I think it's 7 clinical days we have. So for 7 weeks.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
that makes for a long day, and I'm sorry for that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry
Okay.
for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, everybody, we got everybody. I think we got everybody now. Looks like the numbers look good. All right, so again, welcome to orientation. I know that you guys have had orientation and probably already this week. But I'm gonna go ahead and run through the orientation. If you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, feel free to come off mute and ask. But I will share my screen. Everybody see the PowerPoint? Yes. See the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. So what is online learning? So I know you guys know this by now, right? It's just using your computers, using Zoom, your internet, right, to participate in your programs. Allows the online interaction between the instructor as well as you guys and the students. You guys get to meet, people from other campuses and, learn, about what's going on in different areas. Um, I'm going to give you guidance. I'm going to lead the learning activities as well as give feedback to your regarding your progress. You'll have homework assignments, you'll have some learning activities, you'll also have quizzes and exams, all of which will be proctored via Zoom and through Canvas and ExamSoft. So you will be required to complete your coursework every week and make sure that it is submitted on time. So I will be your first contact if there's any issues or any concerns. Feel free to reach out to me. I am available by email. You can message me by Canvas. My phone number is also listed, so you have my cell phone number. You can call and you can text that. And if you need any immediate assistance, I'll be available. I will help you and suggest ways to help you improve your performance. I will give you feedback on your assignments. And I am experienced in the course contact. This is a professional setting, so communication is to be respectful at all times. So with that communication, state your thoughts in a courteous, positive, and respectful manner. Just be mindful how you express humorous or even emotional topics and statements. They sometimes can be misinterpreted. Keep your comments relative to the discussion topic. Be considerate of others' experiences, feelings, and perspectives. Use proper language and titles, no slang, and don't type your messages in all caps. Everybody is going to have different opinions. They've had different experiences, and that's what makes this world a great place, that we are able to have those differences. Just be considerate when we're discussing things like that. So online course, so Fridays from 2:30 to at 5:37. No, it's a really odd time. And I keep forgetting the exact times, but I know that class starts at 2:30. Let's see. I will tell you, I just want to make sure that we have the exact time.
It says the 5:27.
5:27. I'm gonna remember that at some point. So 2:30 to 5:27 on Friday afternoons. They are mandatory live sessions, just like your online campus or your campus courses on ground. Your activities in this course. There's your discussion questions. Discussion questions are due by Wednesday at midnight for your initial post, and then your responses to your peers will be due on Sundays. The dates are according to the syllabus week. They are posted in the shells. Your due dates are posted on your assignments so that you know exactly when everything is due. Standards of professional conduct, academic integrity. All incidences of academic dishonesty and violations of academic integrity will be disciplined. And so some examples: cheating, all right, plagiarism. Everybody knows what plagiarism is, right? Everybody knows what plagiarism is? I can see you, yes?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. When you're doing your assignments, um, your discussion questions, any of that, make sure that you are citing the references that you are using properly in APA format. Copying the work of others is considered plagiarism. Any unauthorized use of notes or materials in exams, including talking to other students, forging or altering assignments, any unpermitted collaboration, giving or receiving aid on a take-home exam or other academic assignment. You won't have any take-home exams, so that won't be an issue here. Allowing others to copy or use work that is not his or her own, providing answers from graded assignments to others, and submitting AI-generated assignments are all considered academic integrity violations. The American Nurses Association Code of Ethics for Nurses. The Code of Ethics serves the following purpose. It is a succinct statement of ethical values, obligations, duties, and professional ideals of nurses individually as well as collectively. It is the profession's non-negotiable ethical standard. It is an expression of nursing's own understanding of its commitment to society. So ethical standards, the Code of Ethics, it starts in nursing school and should continue with you out into your practice. The sites that promote cheating, and we all know that there are a ton of sites out there that will, help you to cheat. Use of these sites does not promote honor, integrity, or ethics. And they are being monitored. So Fortis is monitoring a lot of the sites If you are found on those sites, you will be placed on heightened monitoring of your work for possible academic integrity violations. You cannot reference these sites as well. So when you're doing your assignments, you cannot reference these sites or submit work found on these sites. That will result in a 0 for the assignment. A second incident involving the sites will result in a course failure. So just stay off of them. Posting, downloading on any of those sites will put you at risk of being dismissed from the program. The online dean, your nursing administration on campus, will also be involved in that. If they are not on the list of resources in your course, don't use them. So your StudyGo, your Course Hero, your Stuvia, what is it? The Quizlet. And there's a variety of different sites out there. Better off just staying away from them. You also please cannot submit any AI generated assignments. Late work policy.
I have a question. I'm
Yes,
sorry. I raised my hand, but
I'm sorry.
it's okay. So it's been helpful to put the study guides and Quizlets and create a test for like med surg and stuff like that, and just get more help or understanding of like the type of questions instead NCLEX style questions will be asked on the exam. And it has been helpful in the past with taking tests or studying for a test. Is that still considered an issue for Quizlet?
I don't think I'm not sure with Quizlet.
Okay.
In Quizlet, you're right. It's mostly just flashcards and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're not able to download assignments and stuff off of Quizlet. Just be careful what you post, and what you download. Um, but you're right. I think those are just, like study materials and all I've ever seen on there because I've looked at the sites myself just to kind of see what's going on. But I think
Okay.
it's just like flashcards and stuff.
But it's okay to put like our study guide information in there and create a test, right? Are you saying that that's not okay?
I didn't know you could do that,
Yeah,
honestly.
you can create a exam, and like that helps with the prediction of what type of questions you may be asked. Like it's putting it in a format of a test question and quizzing you on it.
Oh, I did not know it did that. You can see how much I know about Quizlet. Um, I can get clarification from you for you.
Okay.
But that is something that, I do know that I've heard students use Quizlet. Um, is it just for yourself or are you sharing it?
No, it's for preparing for an exam. Like it's creating,
Like for yourself?
yeah, for ourselves to
Yeah.
study.
Then I
Okay.
think that's for yourself. I don't see an issue with it as long as you're not sharing it. Um, Late work policy again, submit your work on time. Late work is only accepted with approval from your instructor. So if you're going to have to submit an assignment late, or something happens, you can't get the assignment turned in, you need to notify me ahead of time and get approval. The late policy is still followed. So 1 to 7 days late will result in a 10% reduction. Anything greater than 8 days will result in a 0 for the assignment. Attendance is taken during your assigned course time. So I take it here, and Zoom also has a log of your logins, your logouts, as well as your total time in the Zoom meeting. So to be counted as present, you must sign in with your full name, which I think I checked. Everybody has their name on their Zoom. You need to be on camera the whole time. Camera has to be on your face. I don't want to just see the top of your forehead, or your ceiling. I need to be able to see your face. Um, Anyone at work, driving, or in a healthcare setting will be removed from the session. Anyone not coming on camera after being asked to will be removed from the session. No laying in bed, no sleeping I mean, I get it if you're gonna have a snack or a drink, but just be respectful. Um, sorry. I will review your time in class by reviewing the login, the logout times on Zoom. Attendance miss will be recorded in 15-minute increments. So if you're 5 minutes late, it's still going to be deducted as 15 minutes. If you leave, 10 minutes early, you're still going to lose 15 minutes. Anyone not posting attendance 14 days in a row will be dropped without notification. Those are federal financial aid guidelines. You must be present within, you must be present during your class times. Otherwise, you do run the risk being class. We don't or being dropped from the class. There is no attendance or there's no makeup for missed attendance. There's only one section of this class. So if you miss class, there wouldn't be an opportunity for any makeup attendance. All of the recordings from the classes will be posted in your announcements so that you can go back and review the information that you may have missed if you do miss class. Early departures, late tardies, class cuts, again, are all going to be recorded in 15-minute increments. And they are all sent to the registrar as part of your permanent academic record. And any student with chronic absenteeism in excess of 20% may receive a failing or reduced grade for the course. So if you miss more than 20% of the course, you will receive a full letter grade deduction at the end of the term. So if you're, sitting there, right at passing, that full letter grade, deduction could potentially fail you for the course. Online office will put the attendance in weekly. Any student at 5% will receive an email through Campus View notifying them that they are at 5%. Then again, 10% you'll be required to meet with the dean and the instructor. And then at 15, will be required to meet with campus administration. Now, you may not get a letter at each one of those increments, but my biggest concern, just keep track of your hours. If you know you're going to be late or have to leave early, just be mindful that that time will be deducted, and try to spend as, be present for as much as class as you possibly can. So keys to success, you have your syllabus, you have your modules. So go and review work that is due each week. Make sure that you're doing your reading assignments and the interactive lessons each week. Make sure that you're attending the live sessions on Fridays from 2:30 to 5:27. Read directions and the rubrics to all assignments before starting them. And then, of course, complete all your assignments. Assignments are due on Sundays. And then over the weekend too, you can look and see what the assignments are due for the following week. So log into class 4 to 5 times a week, stay connected, stay engaged, make sure you read the announcements, submit all your work when they are due, not late. And then again, review the assignments for the next week towards the end of the week. So, as you're turning in your assignments for one, you're kind of looking to see what you have to do for the following week. Don't procrastinate. I will tell you, I'm one of the biggest and the worst procrastinators. I remember many Sunday nights waiting and staying up late, submitting those assignments, praying to get them in before midnight. That's not a good feeling. But you guys have a really busy term, you have a lot going on. So, try to get a good schedule for you, that you can get all of your work done and completed on time. Keep in contact with your instructor. Again, I can help you before the fact, not after the fact. If there's an issue, please reach out to me, so that I can assist you. If, you were up all night sick and you have an exam, let me know before you take the exam, not after you take the exam. I can help you before, but I can't help you after. Once you take the exam, there isn't a retake available. Make sure your internet connection, your computer, your laptop is working in working order. find a quiet place free from distractions to complete your work. And again, make sure you read all your assignment directions carefully. So everybody should have already logged into Canvas, completed your syllabus quiz, your technology check. So everybody should be good. It's Friday, so let's see. Looks like everybody has done their syllabus and their technology check. So good job for that. Make sure you have my contact information handy. Again, you have my email address, you have my cell phone number, you can call, you can email, you can text. Make sure that you have my Zoom link available. And then however you want to save your syllabus, whether you want to print it or download it, and that will be your guide throughout the course. Let you know what is due and is going to happen every week. Make sure that everybody has access to the textbook. Yes, awesome. Make sure you have the correct textbook. And then if you're missing anything, please feel free to reach out and let me know, so we can make sure that you have the resources that you need. Come to class prepared to discuss the topics. So that is going to require you to look at the material for that week and review the chapters that we are going to go over. My suggestion is that if you are repeating this class, have taken this class before and were not successful, you do need to set up weekly meetings with me. So I will be getting in contact with you to set those up. Additionally, if you need any additional help, feel free to reach out to me and we can set up tutoring times. My office hours are from 4 to 5 on Wednesday afternoons. If those times do not work for you, then we can set up another day and time during the week. I am available on the weekends as well, so that is something that we can discuss on an individual basis. Again, any technical difficulties, you can contact technical support. Your exam reviews, I have put the exam reviews on your course calendars in Canvas. And of course, I didn't write them down. Let's see, where's the calendar? So I'm just going to take Canvas a minute to open my calendar, but your exam reviews are already scheduled. They are on Sunday evenings. Want to say 205s on Sundays. They will be at 8 o'clock on Sundays, in the corresponding week, for the exam. So, but like I said, I did put them on your course calendar. I will also post them in the announcements. And this way you have those handy. Those are not mandatory. They're just highly recommended. Those that do go to the exam reviews do generally significantly better on the exams. They are recorded, so you will have access to the recordings as well, to go back and review. Also on my YouTube channel, there are reviews from prior courses that are also available there. Tutoring is available one-to-one. So if you, again, if you're repeating, you're going to need to set up weekly meetings with me. Anybody else that is interested in tutoring may also feel free to reach out to me and we will set up those times. Your grades. So everybody knows about your KGA. So your KGA is your unit exams, your quizzes, and your leadership HESI. So we have 4 quizzes. I'm going to get my courses mixed up now. So for 205, Let's see, just gonna make sure that I don't tell you wrong. So yes, there is 5 quizzes and there are 3 exams. And your exams, everything in your geez, I'm like tongue tied now. Your exams are 55% of your grade, your HESI is 20% of your grade, and then your quizzes are going to be 5% of your grade. The remaining 20% of your grade, which is your homework, in leadership, it's your professional development paper, your NCSBN position paper, your NCLEX review questions. That is the remaining 20% of your grade. Your homework will be added in after you have successfully made that 78% KGA. Weeks 1 through 5, the homework grades will be turned off. I will turn the homework grades back on in week 6 so that you can it'll show you the impact your homework has on your KGA. And then they will be turned off again at the end of week 7. Again, that just kind of helps you to see what your KGA is. And then the homework grades will stay off until after everybody has taken the HESI and completed remediation. Once everybody has taken HESI, completed their remediation, and the grades have been entered in Canvas, I will then turn on the homework grades so that everybody can see what their final grades are. So again, your combined score must be a 78% on quizzes, unit exams, and specialty exam before any credit for homework is given. You must have a minimum passing of 78%, which is a C plus in order to have successful completion of this course. Exams and quizzes. We will use the 2 devices for your quizzes as well. All right, so for quizzes and exams, you will need 2 devices. One to run the quiz, or the exam, and then the phone or another device so that you can be on Zoom. So again, all quizzes and exams, we will use 2 devices this term. Make sure that both are fully charged or you have a charger that is readily available. If you go off camera while in the exam or taking the quiz, you will receive a 0 for the exam and no excuses will be accepted. Quizzes as well are part of your KGA. They will be completed in class with a proctor. We are going to give the quizzes at the beginning of class, and you only get 1 attempt. Your quizzes are 10 questions. You have 15 minutes to complete them, and make sure you hit submit when your quiz is complete. Any quizzes that are taken off camera will receive a 0. Okay, you need to be proctored for your quizzes, just like your exams. If you are late for class, then you cannot take your quiz. So please make sure that you are on time. Quizzes cannot be made up for any reason. So if you're late for class, you miss a class, there is not an option to make up that quiz. Exams will be scheduled and given through ExamSoft. They will be given at the same time as our class. So 2:30 on Fridays, that is when your exams will be. One thing with this course, unlike some of your other courses that were online, because there are 3 hours in this class, we will take the exam and then have lecture afterwards. Okay, so I know with some of your other classes, you take the exam, you log off for the day, but because this is a 3-hour class, then we do have lecture after your exams. So you'll sign into your ExamSoft, you'll read the exam description carefully, and then you'll begin the exam when you're ready. And then when you're finished, you're going to click on save and upload. Once you submit your exam, you should see a nice little confirmation screen with a little green check mark that shows that you have uploaded your exam. Do not turn your camera off until I have given you a thumbs up or said I got it. so that I can make sure that your exam uploads into ExamSoft. Be sure both your computer and your second devices are fully charged or on a charger before you come to class so that you don't run the risk of potentially, getting, something shutting down on you inadvertently. You're only allowed one attempt to take your exam. You can't stop, you can't pause and resume. If you have any or are having any technical difficulties during the exam, stop the exam and notify your instructor. We also are not allowed to use scrap paper, so you must have a whiteboard or a sheet protector that can be written on, and then the board must be erased at the end of the exam. Your exams are timed. Okay, there's 50 questions. You have 75 minutes to complete your exam. If you have, well, I mean, not jump ahead. If you have any accommodations, you need to notify me as soon as possible. If you just because you had accommodations last term doesn't mean that we know about it. I wouldn't know about it unless I had you in a class last term. Any notifications less than 10 days before an exam may not be able to be granted in time because there is a process that must be followed. Again, exams are held during your scheduled class time. Exceptions are only with written approval by your faculty and copied to the National Dean of Online or the National Online Dean. So if you have to miss an exam, you need to let me know as soon as possible. Exams can only be proctored with a faculty member on campus with 72-hour notice and still must be done during the scheduled class time. So if you need to take an exam on ground with one of your, teachers or somebody else on campus, I need 72 hours notice. I also need the name and the person to get in contact with that person that is going to be proctoring the exam. So all exams will be proctored on Zoom. You have to be on camera again the whole time. You must show your photo ID. You will also show me your testing environment. So a nice little 360 view of your testing area, looking at desktop walls, all sides of the computer, the chair, the floor. If your ears are covered, you must show me your ears, must show me your glasses, no headbands, anything else covering your head must be
I am
removed.
so sorry to interrupt you. I'm literally at the hospital. I picked my son up from school and he was having an asthma attack. So I don't have my laptop and my phone is about to die and I don't have a charger. Like I literally can show you the
Okay,
discharge
no,
papers.
I literally just said you can't be in a hospital while
You
you.
did? I've been listening to the nurses. I am so sorry.
Okay, so you're gonna have to log out.
Okay.
Um, no head, what's the word I'm looking for? No head coverings during the exams or quizzes as well. Um,
I'm sorry. You said no head covering. What do you mean by that?
I'm trying to see who's talking.
Amaka?
So I'm just need to be able to see if you have, that's what I said, if you have a religious exemption, that is absolutely fine. I just need to see that there's nothing under there.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
And I don't know everybody's individual requirements. These are just general requirements for all students. If accommodations need to be made, I'm perfectly fine with that. We're just taking all measures to prevent any kind of cheating from occurring. If you have to miss an exam and make it up. Missed exams will be held to the late work policy. So exam miss without prior notice will be a 0. So if you miss an exam and you did not let me know that you were going to miss an exam, you will receive a 0 for that exam. If you miss it for personal reasons, then you will have the 10% reduction. If it is an emergency situation, you need to supply documentation of that emergency. That documentation must be submitted to the National Dean of Online and Nursing Education, Dr. Darlene Brown, within 24 hours of the scheduled exam. And then once your documentation has been submitted to Dr. Brown, that is when we will schedule your exam. Any exam not rescheduled within 77 days of the class time will result in a 0. Again, said this earlier. Contact your instructor with issues that may prevent you from being successful on an exam before the exam, right? You were up all night with a sick baby. You were up all night sick yourself. You had a family emergency, whatever the situation. If they think that it's going to potentially hinder you from doing well on your exam, let me know before the exam. If you had something happen and you take the exam and then you don't do well on the exam, and then you tell me that you were up all night sick or something else happened, I cannot help you. Okay, once you take that exam, that is going to be the grade that you are going to receive. So this is just a little bit more. Your exams, we know, are timed. You can only complete them once. Once you start the exam or quiz, you must complete it because you're not going to get another opportunity to take it. Your quizzes are all going to be through Canvas. Your exams are all going to be through ExamSoft. If any technical issues occur during your quiz or exam, don't continue or try to continue. If you're having technical issues, you need to let me know as soon as possible. I can look at your review log. I can see how many number of times you have left the testing page. I can see how much time you've used. I can see how many questions that you have looked at. I also, once I can determine that, we can get you back up and running, I can give you a code to potentially re-access once the technical issue has resolved. I will not allow a retake of an exam because of technical problems or other physical or emotional issues when the majority of all questions have been answered by the student or time has run out. Your specialty exams are going to be proctored on campus. You only have one attempt at your leadership HESI. HESI exams can occur anytime during your HESI week. They're scheduled by your campus. So as soon as, when we know what your campus schedule will be for the HESI, I will post that. You may know before I do. The exam is 20% of your grade. And the benchmark, as always, is 900. For your exams, you will show your photo ID. You must be on camera at all times. Must see your full face. If you don't show your photo ID or you're not fully visible at any point, that can result in exam and/or course failure. Again, contact your instructor if you have any problems or if you want additional help. With your homework assignments, make sure that you are reviewing your syllabus, that you are identifying the requirements that are needed to complete your homework, and then schedule it. If you want to use a written planner, put it on your Outlook calendar, however you want to make sure that you are organized to get your homework completed. Organized to the most current due date. Make sure that you have ample prep time for each one of your assignments, and then make sure you do your readings, that you're following the assignment directions as well as the rubrics for completing your assignments. And then you will title your assignments according to the course nomenclature, and examples of those are within your modules. Late work, again, is not going to be accepted without prior approval from your instructor. So again, if you're going to submit something late, I need to be notified ahead of time. If not, it will result in a 0. Late submissions is a 10% reduction for 1 to 7 days. On the 8th day, that will result in a 0. All your grades will be in Tuesday by midnight. So homeworks are due on Sunday at midnight. Grades will be up or done by Tuesday at midnight. If it is a late submission, then you may not get your late submission graded until the following week. Your NCLEX review questions. So you have your NCLEX review questions that are due for leadership. Your leadership NCLEX questions are going to be, I think it's 25. Yep, 25 questions. They're due in week 3, week 5, week 8, and week 11. The directions for selecting your questions are going to be in the modules under the NCLEX questions. They are through Saunders, just like you are used to in some of your other courses. Make sure that you are submitting the PDF, not screenshots. I should by now know how to download the PDF of your NCLEX questions. I will not accept screenshots, so please make sure you're submitting it correctly. If it is not submitted correctly or I can't open it, I will message you through the assignment and let you know so that you can resubmit as soon as possible. And again, these are 25 this term, so you only have to do 25 questions for leadership. So, doing more, you're not going to get a higher grade. You're only going to be graded off of the 25 questions. Let's see. We are going to go through the other assignments. So I will show you those. Again, unapproved websites. If you're using unapproved websites for research on your homework, you will receive a 0 for the first offense. The second offense, you'll be failed from the course with a recommendation to the campus for dismissal. So, Course Heroes, Sudoku, Quizlet is listed on here. If you don't know how to use your resources and the Learn library, please contact your instructor or your LRC manager on campus. All right. Any questions about the orientation PowerPoint? I know that you guys have probably seen it already this week, and it's Friday afternoon, so I'm the last one to show it to you. Any questions about the orientation PowerPoint? All right, so I'm gonna pull up your syllabus and we are gonna run through the syllabus real quick. All right, I'm gonna share my screen. All right. Okay. All right. So everybody has seen a syllabus before. You have your prerequisites, you have your total contact hours. So this class is 30 hours. Out of work for class or out of class work, it should be about 60 hours, which is about 5 hours per week. It is a 3-credit course. Your student learning outcomes are listed here, your course objectives, your course requirements, and then of your required resources. So we will use the next book, Success in Practical and Vocational Nurses from Student to Leader. It is through Elsevier. It's actually pretty nice. It's a nice little book. You also have your clinical skills, your HESI, your Calculate with Confidence, your clinical nursing skills, your Saunders book, your strategies for student success on next gen, and your drug references. So you have a variety of resources at your fingertip, plus you should have access to your prior textbooks as well. You must be present for a minimum of 80% of the scheduled class time. So again, just be cognizant that you don't miss too much time so you don't get that deduction in your grade at the end of the term. All right. So again, here's your grade breakdown. You have your unit exams, which is 55% of your KGA, your HESI, which is 20% of your KGA, and then your quizzes are 5%. When you look at your breakdown for homework, Your professional development plan is 7% of your homework. Your NCSBN position paper is 8%, and then your NCLEX questions are 5. All right, so when we will go over the NCSBN position paper and the professional development plan as well. You can see those are pretty big chunks of your homework grade. There are only, like I said, 5, 8, I forget, 5, 8, weeks 3, week 5, week 8 and 11 for your NCLEX questions, and then you will have 4 discussion questions.
Excuse me, Ms. Martinez.
Yes.
You can see me on screen because I'm getting an email saying you inviting me to join class and I've been here.
Who's talking? I'm so sorry.
Reese.
No, yeah, I can see you. I didn't
Okay.
write anything.
I got
Uh,
the email too.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just sent me an email. That's why I was asking. It's okay.
No, well, you see me, I'm just sitting here. I don't know. I don't know what, that's really weird, but no, I can see you guys. That is really weird. Okay, so yeah, then if, like I said, you have your discussion questions. First, the initial post was due Wednesday. You have until Sunday to complete the other 2. So here's week 1. We have orientation. Your discussion question 1 is due. We are going to do chapters 4 and 12. Next week, week 2, you're going to have your first quiz and you have discussion question 2. And we'll talk about effective communication, assertiveness, and your role in the interdisciplinary healthcare team. Week 3 is going to be quiz 2. We're going to talk about cultural uniqueness, spiritual needs, and then week 3 is when your first NCLEX questions are going to be due. The end of week 3, which is that Sunday, we will have the exam review for your first unit exam, which will be in week 4. And then after the unit exam, we will cover chapter 6 and 7. In week 5, you have exam 3. We're going to start talking about collaboration. You also have your second set of NCLEX questions due. At the end of week 5, we will have our exam review on Sunday for exam 2, which will be in week 6. And then we will continue with collaboration after the exam. Week 6, you also have your professional development plan that is going to be due. In week 7, we have quiz 4. Then we're going to talk about some workforce trends. And you will have discussion question 4 that is due in week 7. In week 8, you will actually have no quiz. You will have no tests. We will go through chapters 5, which is about critical thinking, and chapter 13, which is nursing theory. And you will have your NCSBN position paper and another set of NCLEX questions that is due. Yes, Ebony. I saw it this time.
Hey, I just want everyone to know we just got an email alert at 3:05 saying that the phishing email has been sent out to the student's account. So I don't know if that was through a regular email because mine came through my personal email about Miss Martinez class. So don't click on the link.
Yay. And what is it gotta be my class though? Like, why couldn't it have been somebody else? Why is it gotta be me? Okay. I didn't even get the email, so that's interesting.
Yeah, it just came through the school email, the phishing email alert.
The phishing email alert. Cool. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing. I was like, I know I didn't send any emails. I've been literally on here talking to y'all. How could I send an email? And then in week 9, we have quiz 5. We'll do healthcare settings and financing. And then at the end of week 9, we will have our exam review on Sunday at 8, going into exam 3 for week 10. Now, I'm going to stop sharing now. So week 10 class. So there isn't any lecture per se for week 10. So I will hold instead of, trying to find something unsubstantive to do. we will have our HESI review after the exam in week 10. So that you'll have your HESI review for your HESI in week 11. And I don't have another schedule
much?
for that.
Is that okay? Is that okay?
Okay?
It's okay. I have
Everybody
that
good with
now.
the syllabus? All right, so trying to think of what else. So we went through that. All right, so then the next thing that I'm going to talk about before we actually jump into any of the lecture today is going to be some of the assignments. Oh my gosh, directions and the rubrics. But I will go ahead and give you guys a break since it's been almost an hour. So be back. We'll start back at 3:35.
We on break. Are we on break?
That's what I was wondering.
Yes,
Thank you.
until 3:35. All right, so we made it through the orientation, we made it through the syllabus. So I'm going to go over your two papers. So you have two papers that are going to be due this term. You have your professional development plan, and then you will have your NCSBN position papers. So I'm pull them up real quick, and we are going to go through them. I'm going to share my screen. This is going to be your professional development plan that we're going to discuss first. All right, so it is going to be due Sunday in week 6. All right. And so you are going to write a paper, 3 to 4 pages. And you will also include in that, or not included in that. So you'll have a cover page as well as a reference page that is not included in that 3 to 4 pages. Okay. So the bulk of the assignment should be 3 to 4 pages. You're going to develop a professional development plan. Sorry. You are going to develop a professional development plan that includes a self-assessment of your readiness to transition into practice and identifies and outlines your next steps for your personal and professional development. All right, so this will be a link. So if I click on this link, it is going to download the NAPNE Standard of Practice and Education Competencies of Graduates in Practical Vocational Nursing Program. And you are going to describe the competencies outlined by the NAPNEs, with the 6 standards of professional practice. So you're going to have basically a paragraph for professional behaviors, communication, assessment, planning, caring interventions, and managing. So let's just choose, I don't know, let's say communication. I'm just going to pick that one. Okay. So what is your current competency level within these standards? All right. So you're also going to click on this. This is currentnursing.com. This is Patricia Benners from Novice to Expert Theory. All right. So when you click on that, it'll bring you to another site. And that is what you are going to use to identify your current competency level. So let's say I'm a novice at communication. All right. So take communication. I'll say that I am a novice. All right. So that it's novice, advanced, beginner, competent, proficient, or expert. And then identify your strengths and weaknesses and describe actions that would support improvement and advancement of your skills in professional behavior and communication capabilities. Maybe I'm a novice because maybe I've not had a lot of interaction with other members of the healthcare team, or maybe I get really nervous and I don't know how to assert myself very well, whatever makes me a novice. And then identify your strengths and weaknesses with communication, and how you can make yourself better. What are some things that can help you to improve your communication? So you're going to do that for each one of these professional standards. They're the assignment detailed. If I click on that, okay, it's going to give you more information about it as well as the rubric. All right, so make sure that you read the assignment directions, that you read the NAPNE standards of professional or standards of practice and educational competencies, and that you open up Patricia Benner's current nursing, so you can look at her theory, so that you can write your paper and then follow the rubric. Okay. Most people end up losing points because they don't follow the rubric. and they don't include all of the necessary information from the rubric. I'm going to go back. We're going to talk about the NCSBN position paper. So again, this is another big chunk of your homework grade. The NCS position paper is 3 to 5 pages. In addition to that, you will have a cover page and a reference page. And so you're going to write your paper from the perspective of an instructor. Okay, so you're going to write a paper for practical nursing students that explains the act of delegation within the scope of the PN role using the NCSBN paper as the main source. Okay, so if you click on here, that is going to bring you to the NCSBN position paper, working with others. All right, and you are only going to read pages 1 through 18 of this. It's actually very interesting information, but it does definitely outline the process of delegation for you, and some of the tips and strategies and what can be delegated and what cannot be delegated. So again, you're going to read pages 1 through 18 of the Working with Others paper, and then you are going to write your paper. If I look at the rubric, again, you want to make sure that you follow the rubric so that you don't lose any additional points. You can use the NCSBN's paper as one of your references, but you will also need to have at least one other reference. Okay, so you need to have a minimum of 2 references for this paper. Now, I will, as we get closer towards the end of the term, I will go through these, or as we get closer to when they are due, my apologies. I will go back through them if anybody has any questions. So, don't think that this will be the last time that we'll talk about it. So some of you I can't see, Vanessa, Miss Barrera, are you guys there? So if I see that you're not paying attention and you're otherwise preoccupied, I will send you a message. If you are not paying attention, I will remove you from the Zoom class. So just keep that in mind. If I call on you and you don't answer, then I'm going to assume that you are not present, and I will put you into the waiting room or breakout room. But this is an important class. We're going to talk about a lot of different topics throughout this term. It is a lot about, we're going to talk about delegation. We're going to talk about prioritization, which is a lot of what you will need moving forward, especially as you get ready to take your NCLEX. There are quite a few of you in this class. Okay. So, as long as everybody is, we stay respectful and that we participate, everything is going to run very smoothly. Don't have any concerns with there. So any questions about the papers? So I'm going to throw this out there as a who has looked at the syllabus, looked at what is going to be due this term. All right, so a few of you have already looked at it. Does anybody have any questions about anything so far that you have seen? No? All right. Everybody is comfortable with submitting their NCLEX questions. Yes?
Yes.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna throw out another question for y'all. Has anybody read, well, before we do that, week 12, I am going to put this in an announcement as well. So for week 12, Friday is what day is Friday? The 20th, I think Friday is like the 23rd is Tuesday, 24th to the 26th of December, which is the day after Christmas. We are not going to meet on Friday, all right? In week 12, we are going to have a check-in on a different day. I'm just looking to see what day that is. I will post it in the announcements. So PNR 205, we are going to check in on Monday, December 22nd from 2 to 2:30. All right, so we will not meet on Friday, the day after Christmas. So again, I will post that in the announcements so that you can add it to your calendars as well. But just know that the last week of the term for week 12, we are going to meet on Monday instead of Friday.
So I'm in Ohio and we have mental health on that day.
What time
Yeah.
is your mental health?
Um,
Let me put my glasses on real
Two
quick.
2
o'clock.
2 p.m. to 4:41.
So that's PNR 200.
Mm-hmm.
So PNR 200 is gonna act, did you guys have orientation already for mental health? You should have, right? Did? Because mental health will meet Monday morning.
Okay.
So Monday morning is gonna be, I think it says 10 to 10:30 for mental health. And then for 205, it'll be 2:30, 2 to 2:30.
Okay, let me write that down.
But for
Absolutely.
Essington campus, we have, well, I don't know what they're doing about the lab then, because we usually go in from 9 to like 1.
9 to 1.
Mhm.
Okay. So well, you might be done. I don't know. We're gonna have to kind of see how the term plays. Are you gonna be still in lab for week 12? You might be done,
Maybe.
maybe.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we'll kind of play that by ear. All right. Jordan, did you have any questions?
What time did you say about mental health?
It says 10 to 10:30.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So, okay, now we'll jump into, so did anybody read the chapters for this week? Anybody look at them, open the book,
I
peek at
browsed through them.
browse through them? Okay, I'll take that. All right, I'm gonna open the PowerPoints. I'll have to get them the other way. Oh, great, my PowerPoints, I lost them. All right, so just want to make sure I open the right ones. So for this week, we have chapter 4 and we have chapter 12. So chapter 4 is about the evolution of practical nursing. And this was a really interesting chapter, and I don't know if anybody, like I know a lot of you haven't read them. But it is a really interesting chapter of really, learning about the history and a little bit of how nursing came about, starting with practical nurses. So we'll just jump into it. I don't know. All right, so I will share my screen. I'll put the PowerPoints up for you guys, even though they're in the shell, in your Canvas shells. All right, so the evolution of modern practical nursing. So things have changed a lot with nursing in general, whether it's practical nursing or even registered nursing. And we all know that things in nursing continue to change. Two major changes that have occurred in practical nursing is a gradual increase in the required formal knowledge base, as well as a requirement for licensing to practice practical nursing. All right. So initially, practical nurses did not have to be licensed in order to practice. So that's just kind of interesting. So you know that you do, once you complete your program, you do have to take your NCLEX for practical nursing and meet those minimum standards to practice safely as a practical nurse. So the first real school of nursing, and it's not on this slide, but oh, here it is. The first real school of nursing opened in Kaiserwerth, Germany back in 1836. And Florence Nightingale was one of the students. And we all know Florence Nightingale is considered the founder of modern nursing. And after, you know, that after she attended the Kaiserwerth School, after the start of that Korean War, she helped the wounded as well as doctors. And she had a bunch of untrained nurses that actually worked with her. And then in 1860, she established a school of nursing in England and wrote a bunch of books and things like that. Her most famous book was called Notes on Nursing. And I don't know if anybody, you know, is really like a history buff or things like that, but her Notes on Nursing is actually very interesting. It's a little fragmented, but some of the things that she wrote in there was actually really interesting. I don't know how much, you know, people know about the history, especially with Nightingale. But you know, she was the one that basically told us that, hey, if we wash our hands, right, our patients might do better, and we may not spread infections from one patient to another. So her infection control practice, she started our infection control practices, because before that, you know, nobody really thought about washing their hands. Nightingale's core beliefs were perfection of mankind. She believed that nursing was a sacred calling. It was a commitment to work for mankind. It wasn't a business. She also was against licensure likened to a union, and she pushed for nurses to be a respectable vocation. And she worked very hard in order to get nurses recognized for everything that we do. The first nursing school in the United States was started by Pastor Fleidner of Germany. I'm trying to remember what year that was. Shoot. I can't remember. Darn, I can't believe I don't remember that.
Was it 1865?
1836.
1830. Thank you. I was like, why
Yeah,
can't
that's it.
No, that was in Germany. In US, I want to say it was somewhere around 1860, 1880, 1890, somewhere around there. The hospital was Pittsburgh Infirmary. It still exists in Pennsylvania. It's Passavant Hospital. Do I have any Pennsylvania students in this class, in this course? Yep, they. And then as you know, back then, look at that, we still had a nursing shortage. So hospital-based schools of nursing emerged. It was a cost-effective labor force for the hospitals. So what was interesting about that, okay, was your hospital-based programs. So unlike Fortis, unlike, you know, even some of your other colleges and universities, right? We are external to hospitals. So we ask for permission to come and to you know, do clinicals in these hospitals so that you guys get experience, right? With hospital-based programs, it says cost-effective labor. They spent the majority of their time was spent in a clinical type environment caring for patients. So the most of the time was spent on the units and on the floor helping out with the staff. So it's a little bit different than the more traditional now programs where you have theory and lab and sim in addition to those clinicals. For formal training, for practical nurses, the Ballard School opened up in Brooklyn, New York in 1893. And that was the first formal training program. Courses were only 3 months long. And back then, during that time, of course, the primary focus for practical nursing was on home health care for the chronically ill, the elderly, and children. So a lot of nursing was done in the person's home prior to World War I. And things like cupping and midwife roles, even leeching and enemas were part of that. Anybody, you know, guys heard of leeching, right? I'm sure, I don't know how many people have heard of leeching, but leeching is still a practice that we use today. But most of the job duties that were done by the practical nurses were going to be in the person's home. And then in the early 1900s, we did have some other schools that began to open to provide education. Could you imagine if the practical nursing program was only 3 months now? Do you think after 3 months you would be prepared to go and work as nurses in a hospital or another setting? I know I wouldn't.
It would be a lot to still be learned.
I'm sorry.
It would be a lot to still be learned.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. People, with this, the way the standards of practice are now, it'd be insane to have a short program like that. But then, like I said, in the early 1900s, that is when states began to take steps to monitor practical nursing. And, you know, it's not only monitoring the students, but it's even, what do we, how do we judge your education? Do we consider licensing? What do we do? So organizations began to come into play. So of course we had the NLN, which is your National League of Nurses, which I'm sure everybody has heard of the NLN. The NLN is, one of the, most important things that you can be associated with, but it's developed a nationwide system of standardizing the requirements for practical nursing. So imagine if, taking where into you take Fortis College and you take, I don't know, another community college, and then you take some of these universities. If everybody's teaching different things, right, then we don't have standardization of practice, right? There's no, we can have one school maybe that's better than another school. But organizations developed kind of just said, okay, let's bring it all together and we're going to set out what are the requirements or what are the things that we need these nursing students to know for when they graduate to be safe nurses when taking care of patients. The state of Mississippi was the first to pass a law to licensing practical nurses. All right. So, Mississippi kind of started that whole process of requiring licensure. Um, with World War I, we had another shortage of practical nurses, and that is when the Army School of Nursing was established. And so that was one of where we realized that we needed more better prepared nurses. And that nursing shortage continued up through the 20s. By 1938, New York was the only state that required mandatory licensure. All right. So you could, licensing in most state was not mandatory except for New York. New York made it mandatory to have a license back in 1938. And then we got into World War II, and there was another shortage. There was a shortage of RNs, which created the need for practical nurses. So here in the United States during the war, practical nurses worked in the clinics, the health departments, industries, hospitals, and then even sometimes some of them went overseas. And then all states require mandatory licensure for nurses now, whether you're an RN or an LPN. And then we had NAPNES was developed in 1941. Sorry, it took me a minute. NAPNES was 1941. That's the National Association of Practical Nurse Education and Service. That is the professional organization that is dedicated exclusively to our practical nurses. Let's see. In 1944, the U.S. Department of Vocational Education conducted a comprehensive study of practical nurses. And they had a task force, and they sat down and they made up a list of the tasks of practical nursing, and the phrases that were used to describe the LPN scope of practice. So we've all heard of the wonderful nursing process, which is your ADPI. But these are the terms that they initially established for practical nurses. Your judge, appraise, recognize, and determine. So sounds very similar to the existing, right? ADPI. Judge would be your assessment or your data collection. Appraise, recognize, and then determine. Determine what are we going to do for our patients to get them back to their previous level of functioning, or in other cases, just to a stable level of functioning. We also have the Joint Committee on Practical Nurses and Auxiliary Workers and Nursing Services that recommended the title of licensed practical nurse. And then the differentiation also differentiated the task between the RN and the LPN. And that included the LPN being under the supervision of the RN. So we look at education. So the American Nurses Association moved towards 2 levels of nursing. They presented a position paper that outlined how to solve the issues of the different levels of nursing. So they recommended that all RNs graduate from a 4-year college program, and that all LPNs graduate from a 2-year technical program. And during this time, a lot of the hospital-based RN programs closed. And, how many, I don't know what the traditional college graduation rate is for, for RNs going in and graduating from that 4-year college program, but due to nursing shortages and other issues, right? That 2-year associate degree survived pretty well because, we could get students or we could get nurses out in a shorter amount of time to help meet the needs of that shortage. And they, of course, as we have come and evolved, we've had all sorts of programs that are out there. There's, 18-month programs for your LPNs. I'm sorry, 15-month programs for your LPNs. There's 18-month programs for RNs. So a lot of those traditional programs, that you start school in September, you end in April, and then you're out for the summer, and then you go back. A lot of the programs now kind of run 24 or 365 days a year, so that you can get it done a little bit faster. Our assistive personnel, so in the 90s, assistive personnel, or what we used to call the UAPs, the unlicensed assistive personnel, were hired to give client care. And so, think of your UAPs or your CNAs, your patient care tags or patient care assistants, depending on what type of, what hospital you work at and what they decide to call or have their title. The big issue with this was the legal responsibility for the RN or the LPN of, caring for those clients. So this is why delegation is super important, and understanding the rules of delegation, the tasks that are assigned, as well as knowing what the scope of practice is of the person that you were assigning to. And we're going to talk a lot about delegation. So, if you ask a CNA to go get vital signs, or you ask a CNA to turn and reposition a client every 2 hours, no matter what you assign to them, you are ultimately responsible for that task to be completed. And eventually too, the LPN employment moved from the hospitals back to the community. So we pulled LPNs into the hospitals to assist us with the nursing shortage. And then as a lot of hospitals went with more RNs, they started to pull the LPNs back into the community. So right as I was completing my practical nursing program, is when they had started to pull the LPNs out of the hospitals. So the majority of LPN employment was home health and long-term care, doctor's offices, and other types of clinics. The first computerized testing for your NCLEX started in 1994. And so the computer format provided an individualized test for each graduate based on the answer to the previous question. So it is more of a computer adaptive test. It also excluded questions that were not within their nurse's role or their nurse practice act. In 1996, long-term care certification became available to our LPNs in some states. And then there are also some other certifications that practical nurses can get as well. And so now, right? So, a lot of times we still have nursing organizations that are still working at defining the responsibilities of the different levels of nursing. Just there's still so much that needs to do, that needs to be done. The nursing shortage, which I know everybody has heard of the nursing shortage. have created lots of changes within our nursing programs. And, almost about half of the RNs that are out there have associate degrees. And that goal of the associate degree program was to move the nursing education out of the hospital-based programs, and to help ease the shortage by shortening the amount of time required to become a nurse. So, those 2-year programs, again, some of your RN programs are 18 months. I think that's probably the shortest program I've seen is 18 months. But it doesn't matter if you have an associate degree, it doesn't matter if you have a bachelor's degree, whatever it is, it's all the same NCLEX, right? If it's a pre-licensure program, you're all taking the same NCLEX. It doesn't matter how long your program was or what level. And then of course, we have our wonderful LPNs. We'll always have a need for LPNs. It's a critical role in healthcare. And so, like I told you, when I first became an LPN long time ago, they were phasing LPNs out of the hospital and putting us back into the community. And now in recent years, we've seen that there is now a push back the opposite, right? We have LPNs that are actually now being able to work in the hospital again. So, it's always going to be an evolving door. The COVID, we know, put a huge strain on healthcare workforce, leading to a greater nursing shortage for a variety of different reasons, right? We had nurses that were leaving the nursing workforce, because of burnout. And that just made us have a higher and bigger, even a higher nursing shortage amount of nurses needed. So with that, what are some areas of nursing that you are all interested in?
Home care.
Home health, okay. What is interesting to you about home health? I'm just curious. And there's no judging. I'm just really curious.
The 1-on-1 ratio.
The one-on-one ratio. Okay, so
Mhm.
you get that really good interaction with your client. Okay.
Yeah, I think you'll be able to build a better rapport when it's 1-on-1 versus 13, 14, 30 people in a nursing home setting.
I agree. Somebody
I
else
said
say home
mental
health.
health.
Oh, mental health. Okay. What interests you in mental health?
Actually getting to see how the person mind is working, like if they're schizophrenic, like what triggers them, all of the triggers dealing with around and surround mental health, the treatments, and how to help them better improve their way of living to return back into society as a not normal, but functional person.
So you're interested in more of like the chronic diseases versus the drug and alcohol rehabilitation type mental
Yes.
health. Okay. So I got beat up by a mental health patient the other night. They we had I work rehab, okay? Physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, rehab, okay? Somehow we had a psych patient that was supposed to be discharged to an inpatient psych facility ended up in our facility. And she was about 5'9", about two, I mean, she was, no, I'm sorry, she was 5'11". She was about, I would say about 230 pounds. She almost took me and my CNA out. And yeah, so they eventually got her to the right facility after a very long night of dealing with that. So yeah, I'm not
Your
a psych.
military training didn't kick in?
Um,
What?
there's a difference though. There's a difference. You gotta be careful with those mental health patients. You can't
Careful
just
and quick.
down. I wasn't there, but apparently the 911 was called. PD actually had to call and she left in shackles because apparently she attacked the police officers with her walker. So she wasn't playing. But yeah, I'm not a mental health nurse. Whew. But yes, so there all the more power. My mom was a mental health nurse. I am not. I'm not. I love my dementia patients. I know that's mental health, but I love my dementia patients. I love my Alzheimer's patients. Um, and the other ones, the schizophrenics and the bipolar and stuff, just not prepared for that. I can handle them on maybe on a one-to-one basis, but I couldn't do like a whole unit. All right, so we got mental health, we got home health. What else? Anybody want to stay in long-term care? Anybody like long-term care?
ER for me.
ER, all right, you go ER. You're gonna get a little bit of everything in the emergency room.
I'm not really sold on anything yet. Like I'm still, no.
Yeah, and that's okay. That's okay. If you had asked me when I graduated as an LPN, if you had asked me if I was gonna ever stay in long-term care or ever work in long-term care, I would have told you no. I love long-term care. Absolutely love it. And I've done a variety of things. I've done, patient care. I've done education. I've been a corporate traveler nurse. I've done corporate nursing. For some reason, I got into long-term care and I absolutely love it. Med surg, is great. And then peds. Anybody want peds? All right, all right. I love kids. What about OB? No.
It's
And
too
Hospice for me.
hospice. Okay, awesome. Awesome. Hospice is another great field. Um, So just know that there is so much that is open for you. And the opportunities continue to grow. And that's one of the great things about nursing, right? Is you can start one place and you can go into another. There's, if you don't like one area of nursing, you can transfer into another, even within a hospital setting, right? So let's say you start in the ER and you're like, I really thought I was gonna like this, but yeah, no, ER is not for me, right? There's other places in the hospital to go. So that is some of the nice things about it. Um, Anybody else, hospice? Anybody else have any ideas of what they want to do when they graduate? No. Um, and like I said, that's okay. And as we get, through the term or get closer to the end of the term, we'll talk about some of the opportunities that, are out there for you. Sometimes it's, may walk into an aspect of nursing that you never thought that you would enjoy, and you end up, loving it. Sometimes you think you might love part of nursing, and then you get there and you're like, oh, maybe I don't like this so much, right? So, we have the opportunity for change. And then of course, the second chapter for today is chapter 12. And so chapter 12 is going to be all about the wonderful nursing process. And so I will go ahead and give you a break, be back at 4:30, and then we will do chapter 12.
Veteran Affairs, South Texas Veterans Healthcare System. If this is a medical emergency, please hang up and dial 911. If you're having thoughts of suicide, press 7 now to.
You're still muted.
I was unmuted, then I was muted, then okay. So chapter 12. So chapter 12 is all about the nursing process. And so I know as nursing students, you have learned all about the wonderful nursing process. How many of you have written a care plan? How many of you have written concept maps? Yep. So concept maps, care plans are frequently used throughout nursing programs to kind of assist you in using that wonderful nursing process. So the nursing process was established as a 5-step process by the American Nurses Association. And so when they published their standards of nursing practice, that is when they established that 5-step process. And it was specifically written initially for the registered nurse. So we have assessment, nursing diagnosis, planning, intervention, and evaluation. And it gives nurses, an organized way to identify as well as respond to client needs within their scope of practice. And so, it's also a way that we can communicate with other nurses as well as other caregivers within that. So when we look at the nursing process from the practical nurses scope of practice, what do we do during assessment? What are we doing when we do our assessments as practical nurses?
When you're assessing, you're just basically doing vitals and taking history. You're like a historian. You can't really do like the diagnosis and stuff. You just have to be a historian.
Right. So we're collecting data, right? So data collection is what LPNs do as the assessment part of the nursing process. And then we have the diagnosis, right? And the nursing diagnoses are set up by the registered nurse, right? Then we have our planning, and planning is set with the RN. So the LPN and the RN collaborate together, and do, set the goals, identify what the potential interventions will be, and then the implementation, right? That is what we do to accomplish the client's goals, right? So it's stuff that we do either independently, or it is something that we do dependently, or it is something that the patient does in order to help meet their care goals. And then the evaluation, right? We're comparing the actual outcomes with the expected outcomes, which then, we communicate those, and any outcomes that we haven't met, we can go back through that planning process and rewrite interventions to assist our clients in meeting their goals. So some parts of the nursing process, the LPNs can do independently. Some parts of the nursing process is completed by the RNs, and with the LPNs collaborating. So LPNs can gather data. They can also, complete interventions and be part of the implementation. But the nursing diagnoses, the planning, and the evaluation are going to be done in collaboration with the RN. So LPNs cannot do those independently. And the LPN's role in the nursing process is governed by the Nurse Practice Act. Who's heard of the Nurse Practice Act before? All right. So we have the Nurse Practice Act, and what does the Nurse Practice Act tell us?
What you can do in your scope of practice.
Right. What we can do and what we can't do, right? Depending on what state that we are living in. Has anybody ever looked at their nursing scope of practice?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So you can go to your state board of nursing, and you can see what can be done and what can't be done based, within your state. All right. So I'm going to share my screen again, and we'll go through these PowerPoints. All right, so again, the difference between the RN and the LPN role. So the LPN acts more of a dependent role when they're when participating in the planning and the evaluation phase, and then an independent role in data collection and implementation. All right, so the RN can complete all steps of the nursing process, and then the PN can do data collection and implementation independently, and then we'll collaborate with the RN in the other parts of the nursing process. So we look at gathering data. Hold on. So when we look at gathering data, so we are gathering subjective and objective information. What is subjective information?
What the patient says.
What the patient tells us, right? So what's the patient says, it is what the family member says, it's the caregiver, right? It's, I have a headache, my foot hurts, I feel dizzy, I feel nauseated. What's objective information?
That you observe.
Things that's measurable.
Right, it's measurable, and it's things that we observe. Absolutely. So subjective are symptoms, right? And then your objective are your signs. And so we use all of our senses, right? So sight, touch, hearing, smelling. And then our objectives would also be our vital signs, height, weight, lab results. It also could be the result of radiological studies and other things like that. Verifying data. So verifying data or validating, you never assume, you always validate. All right. So you want to verify the data, question any information that isn't matching. So you can compare with medical records or, even any changes, especially if they're not matching what you have. And then you want to communicate information to the appropriate team members, right? So, do you need to go to the doctor? Can you go to the registered nurse? Do you need to communicate with the therapist, whoever it is? Clients or even family members can help to validate information that you're receiving when you're doing this. And then we document. You want to document all the data, all the sources, especially if they aren't not matching. And then, try to determine where the inconsistency is. And in some cases, collaborating with your RN or even the provider will help to, identify some of those issues. Barriers to data collection. So you're going in and you're, going to do your initial assessment of your client, and, you have, 6 patients if you're working on a med surg floor. Time is always an issue, right? How much time do we have to spend with that patient to collect that data? Cultural differences, poor skills in data collection, communication failure. So think about a patient who doesn't speak your language, right? So you have a non-English speaking patient and you go in to do their, collect their data. And then what do? Right? Then we have to set up for an interpreter. Distractions are also barriers, right? How many of you have walked into a room at a clinical site and the television's up to 100, or they have their, their music playing on 100 and you're trying to have a conversation, right? And you feel like you have to yell over the TV, right? Has anybody ever had that happen?
Yeah, and
Right.
then you mute it and then they just turn it right back up.
Yep. They're like, we don't have time for you. I'm watching my show. Can you come back? Right. Um, and so these are just some barriers. A personal bias can be a barrier as well. You can label the client right before you're even done, just based, so instead of basing the decisions on fact, we're basing our decisions on, what we see. Respectful distancing is also necessary. So you want to be careful. You want to make sure that you remain objective. Only the RN can develop the nursing diagnoses, the goals and interventions, and plan of care, right? We talked about that. And the LPN collects or collaborates with the RN. We have our planning process, and planning includes assisting the RN to develop the nursing diagnoses, the outcomes, and the wonderful interventions. So goals, all written goals for our clients. And so let's start with before we even write our goals, how do we establish what's important? Where do we get the information about what's important? How do we, where do we get the information to make our nursing diagnoses and then establish our goals? How do we get, where does that information come from?
The patient,
Okay, it comes from the patient. So we go in and we interview our patient. We're collecting all of our data, our subjective data, our objective data. And then what do we do with that data?
Formulate a plan that suits them.
Okay, we're going to establish a plan that suits them. Absolutely. So how do we determine what nursing diagnoses are going to be needed for that client?
You assess the data, you collaborate, you use critical thinking.
Okay, so you're looking at the data that you're collected, right? Why is the patient there? What's going on with the patient, right? You're doing that general survey, and then you're going to identify the needs that that patient has based off of the information that you collected. So let's say you had a patient that came in and they said they feel weak and weak and dizzy. Give me one nursing diagnosis that would incorporate feeling weak and dizzy.
Low blood sugar.
Nursing diagnosis. Patients weak and dizzy. One nursing diagnosis.
Hypotension.
Nursing diagnosis.
Is it like dehydration?
Risk for falls. If I'm dizzy and I'm weak, I'm a risk for falls, right? Right? Okay, so we're using that information and we're making our nursing diagnoses. Our care plan may not include all of their health problems, okay? We think of some of our clients with multiple chronic conditions. We may not have there just may not be, you can't just incorporate everything. It just may not even be feasible. So we prioritize them. So we prioritize our
I have a
goals.
question.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So will you be helping us like with our documentation and things like that? Basically, this class is more like that plus like our role is that.
We're just going to talk, right? This is just an overview of the nursing process. So your documentation and stuff, like, are you talking about for clinicals and stuff?
Yeah, but just for example, you ask for a nursing diagnosis and, everybody's kind of like trying to answer your question. So that's why I'm asking to kind of like put it all together.
Gotcha. I mean, I can absolutely assist with that.
Okay.
Yeah. We just want to make sure that we have like a good understanding of the nursing process. But so when we look at goals, then we get to where we've got our data, we've got our nursing diagnoses from the registered nurse, and now we are going to set our goals. Okay. What do we use to prioritize our patients' needs?
Maslow.
Yes.
What was the
Very
question?
good. What do we use to prioritize our patients' needs? Maslow's hierarchy, right? Everybody remembers
Maslow.
Maslow? Right. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so we use Maslow's to prioritize the patient's needs. And then we'll kind of go from there. So when we set our goals need to be
They need
attainable.
to be obtainable, realistic goals, things that can be reachable, but not easily reachable to encourage them to do, and for the nurse and for the patient.
Awesome. Very good. Need to be realistic and attainable, right? So if I had a patient who had open heart surgery, right? He's not going to run a marathon tomorrow, right? So they need to be realistic. They also need to be measurable, right? How, how do we know if they've met a goal, right? If we don't have a measure there, right? So, whether it's short term or long term. So, the patient's or the client's going to walk 50 feet by post-op day 2, right? That may be realistic, and it also may be it's also measurable, and it's time referenced, right? So time reference, basically is just how long do you think it's going to take for that person to reach that outcome? Oops. Sorry, my finger is stuck on there. So here's an example, okay? So did I miss something? Nope. Okay. So a nursing diagnosis, we have altered nutrition, eating less than the body needs. All right. The nursing problem is the patient only eats 5% of each meal, related to loss of appetite and weakness. So our outcome here is the client will eat 1,500 calories of ground foods and drink 2,000 mLs of liquids during each 24-hour period by day 10. All right. So that gives us 10 days to get them up to a 1,500 calorie diet and 2,000 mLs of liquid. All right. So our interventions, we're going to give them 6 small ground meals at 8, 10, noon, 2, 4, and 6. We're going to put them in an easy chair with minimal assistance. We're going to encourage them to self-feed and assist only if needed. And then another intervention, we're going to offer 240 mLs of liquids at 6, 9, 11, 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. And then we are going to vary their choices. So the patient likes Jello and ice cream, 7-Up, chocolate milk, and pineapple juice. And they drink herbal teas with meals, right? So we've used information that we've gathered from the client, and we've determined their preferences. And that is how we have decided what we are going to offer. All right. So we're trying to get them up to that 1,500 calorie of ground foods and 2,000 mLs of liquids. So data collection, right? We're going to look at intake. So we want to document the amount and the type of liquid in milliliters, and then we want to know how much food that they are eating at each meal. The outcome, again, right? The client will eat 1,500 calories of chopped foods, drink 2,000 mLs of liquids during each 24-hour period, and then the outcome. So by day 10, the client was able to consume 1,500 calories in ground meals and 1,600 mLs of liquids during a 24-hour period. So which did we meet, right? We got the 1,500 calories in their meals, but we're not quite to the 2,000 mLs of liquid during a 24-hour period, right? So what could we do? We can go back.
Reevaluate.
Good job.
You
Go
want
back
to
and
reevaluate to see what's stopping them from reaching their goal and set forth a new goal after reevaluating, after you take it to the RN.
Absolutely. Good job. Oops. So our nursing diagnoses are your NANDA eyes, right? So that is the systemized taxonomy that we use to determine client concerns. We also have nursing interventions classifications, which is your NIC. We have NOC, which is the nursing outcomes classifications. So it's just a different variety of ways that we can collect information and measure outcomes. Again, your RN is going to have the final decision on the nursing diagnosis, the choice of interventions, as well as the measuring those outcomes. So I know there's differences. So we have care plans and we have concept maps. So care plans vary. All right. So care plans, we have different ones. We have standardized care plans. So how many of you have had the opportunity to look at the documentation or the electronic medical records in a hospital? Has anybody ever had that? Has anybody had that opportunity to see how it is? Okay, so some of you have. Shadaya, have you seen any of the EMRs? Yes? No? You're on mute.
Yes.
Um,
Use Epic or something.
has anybody had the opportunity to try to use one?
I have. I worked in
Yes.
cancer surgery.
Okay, where do you work?
Cancer surgery.
Okay. What type of EMR system do you use?
Medicine.
Oh, I'm okay. I'm used to that one. So when you are entering your information into the EMR, okay, a standardized care plan is one that is going to pull information from the information that you're putting in. So based off of your patient's diagnoses, and medications and other things, it will make what's called a standardized care plan. And that standardized care plan is basically, could be very similar, right, for a bunch of different patients that come into the hospital, right? So it's just based on the best possible options for nursing diagnoses. Anybody work long-term care? All right, so a lot of times too in long-term care, we have standardized care plans. You put in the nursing diagnoses, and then a whole population or a whole list of interventions is going to populate. And then what do? We go through the list of interventions and we look and we tailor that to meet the needs of the specific patient or the specific client. So my patient that is at a risk for falls because they feel dizzy, and I forget what else they said. Right. I could have two patients that feel weak and dizzy, all right, with two different complete sets of interventions, right, based off of their individualized needs. So a standardized care plan is just, here's the nursing diagnosis, here's a whole list of interventions, okay? The individualized is going to be tailored to the specific client. All right, so you're going to go through a list of interventions and you're going to identify which ones are going to be best for your client. And we also have multidisciplinary collaborative care plans. These work well in settings where staff, like from PT, OT, speech therapy, respiratory therapy, when you have a bunch of different healthcare professionals working with that one client. You can see this in hospitals, you can see this in rehab centers, you can see this in long-term care settings where you have all of those people that are working with that client, and they are going to have their own individual interventions and things that they are going to do for that client. Does that make sense? Right, so who is the center of everything that we are doing in our job as a nurse, right? Who's the center of the care?
The patient.
Right, our client. And so while some of those, those standard care plans or standardized care plans are good, they are not going to be individualized to the people that we are working with. And so we need to break that down a little bit more, and we individualize it to our patients. And then, like we said earlier, we're going to do all of our interventions that are specific to our clients, And then we're going to go back and we are going to evaluate to see if that they meet those, specific outcomes. And if they don't meet the outcomes, we go back and we readjust our care plan and our interventions so that we can assist them in meeting their goals. Okay. My hip or my open heart surgery patient by day 2 can't walk 50 feet because maybe he had a complication or something else happened, right? We can readjust that. Maybe we were going to walk a shorter distance, or maybe we are going to not walk at all, right? What are some other things that we can do for that patient? So we're going to have to go and just reassess. Trying to think of what else. All right. Any questions about the nursing process? All right, so let's do some questions. So which part of the nursing process can the LPN do independently from the RN?
Implementation, evaluation.
Independently from the RN.
The data
Assess,
collection.
assess, and
Assessments.
Data
vitals, vitals.
Right, so you can do your data collection, right? And then you can do the interventions. Awesome. The other ones, then the RN again can do all of the nursing process independently. Okay, the rest of it, the LPN is working with what do you call it? Working in collaboration with the LPN or with the RN. Let's see. I'm trying to think of another good question. Three things about setting our goals. What should goals be?
Realistic, measurable, and time.
Very good. They need to be realistic, they need to be measurable, and they need to be time reference. I'm just going through the slides and pulling out questions. What do we do if a client doesn't meet their goal?
Reassess.
Okay, reassess, and then after we reassess, what are we going to do?
Reset the goal.
Reset the
Get a
goal.
new plan.
Yep, there you go. Yep, we're going to reassess. Absolutely, 100% correct. We are going to reassess. Then we are going to look at our goals, right? Establish new goals, and then we are going to establish new interventions. Awesome. Good job. I'm trying to think of what else. I mean, so, all right. So good job. All right. So the last few minutes, and I feel bad, I should have reversed this, but I wanted to make sure that I got all the information for today covered. I want everybody, I know this is the fun part that nobody likes, to introduce yourself, and at least tell me, what campus you're from. So
Can I ask you a quick question first?
Absolutely.
Just to go back, just for clarification, you said the RN is able to do all 5 parts, right?
Correct.
And the LPN is able to do the data collection and the evaluation?
Interventions, implementation.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so just to introduce yourself, tell me what campus you are with, And any other information you want to share is fine, but at least just those things.
My name's LaGracia. I'm at the Ohio Westerville campus, Columbus, too.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. You said LaGracia.
Yes.
All right. 'Cause
I
I
like
want
to be called Grace.
Grace.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, I'm Latrice and I'm at the Cincinnati campus. I don't know what's wrong with my camera either.
All right. Latrice is from Cincinnati. All right. Thank you.
My name is Ethel Bryant, and I'm from the Pensacola campus.
Oh, Pensacola. Okay. How is it in Florida?
I don't stay in Florida. I'm in Alabama.
Oh, okay.
I drive
Okay.
over for class.
Okay. All right. Who's next?
I'm Vanessa. I'm from the Fortis in Pennsylvania.
Which one?
Essington.
Essington. I couldn't think of it. I was like, all right. Who's next?
Ashley.
Oh,
And I'm from the Centerville campus.
Who's speaking? I'm sorry. Ashley, you're from Centerville?
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Danielle and I'm from the Essington campus.
All right, Danielle, thank you.
Ernestine Bessam from Cincinnati campus.
Thank you, Ernestine.
Mamaka Belete, Essington campus.
Okay. Say your name one more
Mamaka.
time. Mamaka?
Yes.
Mamaka. Okay.
Yes.
And you said Essington?
Yes, ma'am.
Mamaka.
My
I'm
name is
writing it so
Lanisha.
that I
I'm
don't
from
mess it up.
Essington as well.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Lanisha and from Essington.
All right, thank you, Lanisha.
My name is Yesenia and I'm from Cutler Bay, Florida.
Say your name one more time.
Yesenia.
Yesenia.
My name is Shadaya. I'm from the Essington campus.
Shadaya.
My name is Ebony. I'm from the Cincinnati campus.
My name is Whitney, and I'm from the Cincinnati campus.
Okay.
All right.
I'm Stidra, and I'm from the Essington campus.
Stidra.
I'm Naomi from the Essington campus.
I'm Miriam, and I'm from the Essington campus. I'm Wanisha, and I'm from the Essington campus.
Wynisha. Did I say that right? Wynisha?
Yes.
I'm Jessica from the Essington campus.
I'm Tamia from the Essington campus.
I'm Corey. I'm from the Cincinnati campus.
I'm Maurice. I'm from the Essington campus.
I'm Aminata from Essington campus.
Aminata, is that what you said? Aminata.
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 Mm.
One thing I don't like is messing up people's names. So that's why I'm like, if I didn't hear it, I want to make sure I hear it. Kevin, which campus are you from again?
Essington.
I'm from the Essington campus.
Okay. Who is missing? Who did not?
My name's Dara.
Dara.
My name is Shuri. I'm from the Westerville, Ohio Fortis campus.
Westerville. Dara, where are you from again?
The Cincinnati campus.
Cincinnati. All right. All right, who else am I missing?
I'm Sahara from the Scranton, Pennsylvania campus.
You're a Scranton. All right, so another question for you guys. Yes, I know that the overall goal is to pass the class. Let's start. What are some goals for this course? Besides just, I just want to pass the course. Okay. What are some goals for this course?
Learning
My goal
how
is
to
what I
delegate.
Delegate. Okay.
Yeah, like learning the steps and becoming confident doing it.
Okay. Become competent in delegating. Okay. Jessica, what were you going to say?
just earlier with like documenting and the processes that we went through.
Okay. So delegating, documentation, more of the nursing process stuff. Okay. What else?
I think
Is
is this course like community?
I'm sorry.
Is this course like community?
Mm-mm.
It's completely different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So with community, right, we what's the word? We're looking at the community, right? What can we do for the community as a whole, as a group, right? Um, this is leadership is kind of a culmination of everything that you have learned up until this point. And so if you just to to follow up, if you look at the syllabus or remember the syllabus for this, we look at some of these student outcomes. A lot of this is going to be focused on communication, delegation, prioritization, um, and using the nursing process. So as future practicing nurses, right, communication is one of the big things that we need to be able to do effectively, right, with other members of the healthcare team. So yes, so a lot of what we are hearing, a lot of this information that you've had already throughout your time at Fortis in other classes, starting way back in foundations. And so now we're going to try to bring it back all together, and kind of refine your knowledge based off of that. And we'll say that most people need the most practice is going to be in delegation and prioritization. So with delegation is what can you delegate to somebody, to usually we're delegating to an unlicensed assisted personnel, whether it's your CNA or your care partner or someone, depending on where you work. And what you can and what you cannot delegate is, something that a lot of people, stress out about, right? Because it's very finite. And then prioritization. So what do I mean by prioritization? Any ideas? What's prioritization of care?
Like somebody in pain versus somebody airway obstructed or shortness of breath. You talking about that?
Right. So let me
Caring for?
yeah. So you walk into,
Is it ABG?
hold on. So ABC, it would be ABC.
ABC.
So it's okay, say you walk into work, and you have your 6 clients that you're assigned for the day. Um, how do you decide who to go see first? That's prioritization. Okay, so how do we determine who we're going to go see first?
By airway, breathing, and circulation.
Whoever can die, who, not to be mean, but
Right, whoever can die. I like that was very blunt. That was very blunt. Okay. Um, wow. But I mean, okay, so basically what you're saying, let's rephrase that. So the more life-threatening first.
yes.
Okay. All right, awesome. And so that is, those 2 areas are some things that are going to be a lot of, what we're going to work on throughout this is how do I know who to go see first? Even up to including what are some of the assignments that I can accept as a LPN, as well as what I can delegate to the practical nurse. And we're going to talk about the laws, and we're going to talk about cultural assessments and cultural uniqueness. And I know you've had those that information in previous courses as well. And then we'll talk about, trying to think, some ethics and some laws that will apply specifically to nursing as well. We'll talk about the boards of nursing. We'll talk about critical thinking. We'll talk about nursing theory. And then we'll talk a little bit about the healthcare system itself, like the different types of hospitals and the different types of settings that are available for our clients, as well as how is healthcare paid for, right? So the different types of financing and issues and trends that kind of fall in with healthcare. So Dr. Tenza, she's the course lead for leadership. So she will be posting some math help for you guys. So there's, you'll get math questions and answers. What I'm going to start to do is posting some prioritization questions. Okay. So to help you with that part of it, like, like which client are you going to go see? And there's steps in prioritization. Like you're going to see an acute patient, right? Before you're going to see a chronic patient, you're going to see somebody with, oh, I forgot what I was going to say. You're going to see an unstable patient, right? Before you're going to go see a stable patient. And then, of course, your ABCs are always going to be part of that as well, right? Airway, breathing, and circulation. Because a lot of what you're going to see on HESI is going to be delegation and prioritization. All right. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind right now as we move through the course, because that is going to be a big part of what you're going to see on HESI.
For the HESI for leadership?
Correct.
Okay, cool.
Yep, correct. And I know just a couple other pointers. I know that you guys are really busy. Okay. And I know that you have a lot of stuff on your plate this term. And so just kind of want to don't let this class fall to the wayside, okay? So just a couple other things. We still have a few minutes. If you are repeating leadership, please reach out. I will reach out to you as well. I don't know who, I haven't gotten a report yet to know everybody that is or is not. But if you are repeating, reach out to me, give me some times and dates that you are available so that we can set up weekly meetings. All right. If you need tutoring, if you need additional assistance, please reach out to me. We'll set up time so that we can meet. This last term, like I said, it's very busy for you guys. The information here is not it's not new information. Okay, we're taking, this is information that, like I said, you've had throughout your, your courses. We may be expanding on some of the information. All right, so I don't want anybody, let's just kind of go out the gate running so that we don't fall behind. If there's any issues, if there's any concerns with anything, reach out to me beforehand, so that we don't run into an issue with, not submitting things on time because of a lack of understanding or not knowing, or because of emergency situations. Just let me know what's going on. You have my email address, you have my cell phone number, you can call, email, or text me. Just keep me informed if there's anything that, is going on that could potentially influence your ability to be successful in this course. And again, I don't know who is repeating yet. But if you are, you guys know if you are, reach out, give me some days and times that you're available so we can set up those weekly meetings. And what else? My office hours are also posted in your announcements. It is on the syllabus cover sheet that is posted. And I want to say I probably already said it, but I just want to make sure I don't remember what time I put on there. It is 4 to 5 on Tuesdays. So 4 to 5 on Eastern Standard Time on Tuesdays. If that time does not work for your schedule, again, please reach out to me. Give me some times and days that you're available. Again, I put the exam review dates are listed in Canvas. They're on your Canvas calendar. They're on Sundays, the week of the exam. So Sunday is the review, the exam's on Friday. And then for your HESI review, we will do the HESI review after the exam in week 10. All right. Any questions at all whatsoever? All right. That is all then. I will see everybody next Friday at 2:30.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Mendez. Oh,